Well, with me in the studio is our social media producer, Sam Barry, and also on Sheti Shuangzhen from the Chinese service. Sam, first of all to you, I mean, I would imagine social media is humming.
There's been 3 definite spikes in conversation since this story began. The biggest one was obviously when the officials first announced that they'd lost the plane. So you had about 1 million people tweeting that day, that night that happened. The second spike in conversation was when the Malaysian Prime Minister announced that they thought that the disabling of the communication system was a deliberate action. So we got a huge amount of traffic on that. And then the third, today, there's been nearly 750,000 people tweeting under the hashtag MH370. And there's also 3 definite types of conversation that are happening around it. One is prayers for the family, and that's become more prevalent in particular today. The second, which drives a lot of the traffic, is looking at the theories and scenarios of what had happened. And the third is criticism for the officials for their handling of the investigation and also questioning the speed of the investigation.
And let's just get Chinese reaction now. I mean, what have you been monitoring?
For the friends and relatives for the past 16 days, they're pressing the Malaysian airline and the Malaysian government for any news. And now the news somehow did arrive, but in a way they want to withdraw from the news. They're reluctant to accept the news in a way. But that's quite understandable. But in another sense, the Chinese internet users lash out at the Malaysian government, saying that they're not forthcoming, they're not open dealing with the relatives. And that's why there's kind of conspiracy. That's why the Chinese government want to press the Malaysian government to keep searching, to deliver all the related evidences. I think even the news came today that the relatives and Chinese internet users say, okay, that's not the case because we still don't know what really happened. There are so many questions unanswered, and they want to deliver a second press conference for tomorrow. So people still think that unfair to those families at the moment.
Yeah, and there's also been some reaction, I think, from the Chinese government urging the Malaysians to keep on the search, but also saying we demand that you give us information about what you know and how you know it, because presumably, you know, there was a hurriedly called news conference which the Chinese may well have not been aware of happening, and they want to kind of understand, well, hang on, what is this data that allows you to say this definitively today that you couldn't say yesterday or the previous 15 days?
Obviously, the answer is not definitive at this moment. That's why people say there are still so many questions unanswered. I think the Chinese government's reaction sort of under the pressure from the Chinese public, saying that, okay, you are not give us information quick enough and sufficient enough. So that's why people are still asking. But to a certain limit, the Chinese government is saying that, okay, this is how much we can do because we are following the international practice in a scenario like this. So I think the Chinese government can do so much, but the ask from the public is so huge, asking the Chinese government, even at this point now on, the Chinese should search the black box in case that so much more information will be concealed in a way. So there are many conspiracy theories at this moment. So I think the Chinese government, in a way, is under the spotlight. They're also under the pressure.
Sam Barry, I mean, the role of social media in this is interesting, isn't it? Because it can be a great source of information delivered very fast, immediacy, and everyone can react to it. But it also can be a breeding ground for those conspiracy theories.
So when you have a story where there's lots of facts, social media is used as a breeding ground for conspiracy theories. When you have a story like this where there's so many unanswered questions, when the drip of information comes out and almost seems like it's changing from day to day, what happened to the plane, what happened to the people on board. You've had so many threads of this story that, yes, social media does become not only a breeding ground for conspiracies, but also it's a good place for people to debunk that. So you have aviation experts going in on forums and on Facebook and saying that these are these theories and these are the reasons why they're not true.
And presumably, just from the Chinese point of view, the Chinese government is going to certainly devote considerable resources because it's got an awful lot of people who've lost loved ones who are demanding answers.
Exactly. That's why China, at the very early stage, they deploy over 20 satellites involved in it, and also they send their airplanes to Australia to be part of the team of the search and rescue. I think the Chinese government do want to let the people know that they're making every effort. That's why the President Xi Jinping also said we're using all our resources in the search and rescue. And now the President is in the Netherlands for the nuclear security summit, and also to talk with his U.S. counterpart, President Obama, also said something about that. And the U.S. First Lady, Michelle Obama, is in China, also saying that they are concerned about the life of those missing passengers.
Okay, both of you, thank you very much indeed for being with us. Well.